guys, welcome to another video. This is a bread recipe. I just want to start this video by saying I am definitely not a baker. I am more of a cook. I freestyle a lot, but I have started occasionally baking things. I am gluten-free most of the time. I read about a flour called Einkorn flour, and it is wheat flour, but it's the original form of wheat. It hasn't been modified, changed, anything like that. And a lot of people with gluten sensitivities can eat it. So I have tried a few products by Jovial Foods that they make. I've had the crackers. We made something else with Einkorn flour. I can't remember what it is right now, but I did get some to have. And the other day I was just craving some bread. I have been gluten-free for a long time. I don't know how long it's been since I've had real bread. I think I've been gluten-free for like 6 or 7 years now. So this is a treat for me. I haven't really experienced too many symptoms or side effects from having Einkorn the few times I've had it, which has been great. But it's also something I want to limit just because I don't want to have like an immune response to it and have flare-ups or anything like that. So I do eat gluten-free most of the time, but Mike isn't gluten-free and he loves bread. So I thought I would try this. I will link the recipe that I had used for this. I obviously changed some things because, again, I'm not a baker, I'm a cook. Things I learned was you should not dump all of your water in when you're making dough because you might not need all the water. And in this case, I didn't, and my dough was really sticky, as you will see. So I kept having to add flour, and that was my mistake because I, again, don't bake that often. So those of you that do bake a lot, please don't judge me. I'm sure you will, which is fine. I'd love pointers and tips for baking bread because we just started baking bread this last year. It's not only a great way to save money, but you know what goes in your bread. I know when we make bread at home and Mike eats it, he isn't as prone to get heartburn and stuff like that. So I think a lot of times there's a lot of preservatives in bread that maybe aren't the best for us, and bread is very easy to make. This is just a no-knead bread. You can make no-knead breads, and I really enjoy it. I think it's kind of relaxing and fun. So I like to do it once a month or so. I usually would just make Mike bread, but in this case I use the Einkorn flour so I could have a couple of slices. We did have it the next day. I had it the first day with some soup, which was in my last video, so please go check that out. Delicious sausage and potato soup. And then the next day we had some ham sandwiches with this bread. We just put ham and mustard on the bread, and the Parmesan cheese in the bread, like paired excellently with the ham. So if you're gonna do a picnic or something, this is probably a good picnic bread if you don't want to like bring a bunch of cheese because the cheese is baked into the bread. So anyway, I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe below if you haven't already, and so let's get started. This is Jovial Einkorn flour. I have some more in here that I've emptied out. I'm gonna make a Parmesan peppercorn, easy kind of like no-knead bread. Einkorn flour doesn't do well with kneading. It gets really tough, so it's best to find bread recipes or recipes if you're going to use this that you don't need to knead a lot, otherwise it will be really tough and won't be good bread. So I've got 3 cups of the Einkorn flour, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, a tablespoon of crushed black pepper, a teaspoon of kosher salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of rapid yeast. And then to this I'm going to add a 1.5 cups of water, which I've measured out. It's about 100 degrees. You don't really want anything over that because you don't want to kill your yeast. And I'm going to mix this together till I get a shaggy dough. I'm not going to over mix it, no kneading or anything like that. I bought Mike this bread whisk for Christmas. It's a Dutch whisk. It really whisks together the dough and it doesn't get stuff stuck on it. So they're really cheap. They're like $10, $12. They're perfect for dough if you're into making doughs. So this is what it looks like. I did add another 1/4 cup of flour because I put 3 cups in there and I don't have a scale. And I think it was just a little bit light on that. So I went ahead and just added more. Once you start making doughs, you'll kind of get a feel of what it's supposed to be. And it's really dry in Colorado, so I never know. So you want to make sure you have enough moisture. They call this a shaggy dough. When it does that is what you kind of want. So I'm going to let that rest for about 2 hours and then I'll turn it out and then we'll start cooking it. Okay, so here we have the bread. It has been in here for 2 hours since I made it. If I can get the plastic wrap. I put the plastic wrap on there really good. You can see the little bubbles. And it has risen. So that's a good thing. So I'm going to turn it out onto a floured surface and knead it just for about 2 minutes. And then I'm going to let it rest again for another hour. So I have the bread. I'm going to dump it out of my floured surface. Very sticky dough, so I'll add a little more flour. So really you're just folding it onto itself. You could use your hands for this, but I don't want to get my hands sticky. We have a different scraper. I don't know where it is, so I need to find it. This one doesn't work the best. Because the dough's so sticky, I don't know if it's not as dry today or something. I did add more flour. And I'm gonna add Parmesan in. A lot of these recipes call for chunks of Parmesan, but I don't have chunks of Parmesan. Got this shredded Parmesan. There's about a cup in here. So I'm actually going to add this now and I'm going to let it rise again. Okay, this is what it looks like after I mixed in the Parmesan. It's still kind of sticky, but I'm going to let it sit for about an hour and a half and then we can kind of get it ready to start baking in the Dutch oven. Oh yeah, I'm gonna, instead of putting it back in the bowl, which is what they recommended, I don't really want to take it out of the bowl again, so I'm just gonna cover it with the bowl. It should be good that way and stay warm. Okay, here's the bread out of the oven. I did brush the top with olive oil so it's a little bit darker and some salt. So I'm gonna let it cool and then I'm gonna cut into it. See how this turned out.
still kind of hot, but it does have a little structure. It didn't rise as much as I wanted it to. But I'm gonna eat it. I'll let you know how it is.
I forgot to mention you want to cook the bread till about 200 degrees. That's what you want the internal temperature. That's when you'll know it's done. I do have a food thermometer. I recommend everybody have one of these. But this was out of the oven, so I was just checking it. And this is what it looked like. I did brush the top with some olive oil and salt, and it kind of gave it like a pretzel consistency. And I unfortunately missed the part of me putting the dough on the parchment paper. But if you follow the recipe I linked, it will tell you how to do the baking part, and I didn't change anything there. And then the next day we had these ham sandwiches with the Parmesan bread. It's really good toasted too, we found out. So if you toast the bread, the Parmesan flavor, and it's just really crisp. I do recommend this bread. I think you could try it with normal flour. It probably would even work with gluten-free flour. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and subscribe below if you haven't, and have a great day.